take a lot of guts.
You can do it!
A little magic.
You're the best!
And the Wizard, Fred Savage. The Wizard.
In 1989, we got the most impressive theatrically released commercials of all time. The Wizard. Woo!
This is the story of three kids hitchhiking their way to California for the benefit of Jimmy the Wizard.
It's essentially the movie Rain Man for children. The Tom Cruise character is played by Fred Savage. The Dustin Hoffman character is played by his little half-brother.
So Jimmy is really good at video games. Their plan is to go to California, and hey, he wants to go there anyway. While we're there, let's do this video Armageddon thing and get $50,000.
Their final challenge is to play a brand new game that was never released before in America.
Super Mario Brothers 3! And it was an amazing reveal. I remember as a kid just being like, oh my God!
I love how nobody knows anything about Super Mario Bros. 3. They're all playing it for the first time, but they seem to know where the magical warp whistles are.
There's a secret in the game, so watching The Wizard also let you know, hey, there's something I can do in this game when it comes out.
The Wizard was the first time that I was aware of video games being in the mainstream.
Despite the fact that it was an obvious attempt to cash in on the popularity of the Nintendo name, I always found it to be kind of a cute little kids road trip movie, which is exactly what it is.
Everyone just watched it to see the video games, and there just weren't enough scenes with video games.
It was also a commercial for the Nintendo World Championships, which would be the next year. But what do you want? It's a movie about Nintendo. Final Fight was released by Capcom in 1989 and became sort of the standard bearer for beat-em-ups after that point.
The game takes place in Metro City, where the Mad Gear Gang has captured Mike Hager's daughter, Jessica, and you gotta beat those guys up.
I always loved the co-op play in the arcade, and being able to choose between three guys.
You can choose from one of three characters. There's the former wrestler and current mayor Mike Hager, my favorite.
The other characters that are joining him in the fight are his daughter's boyfriend, Cody, and Cody's BFF Guy.
Yeah, the nice thing about Final Fight was that it did introduce a lot of variety in your player character so that you could pick someone that was tailored to your style.
Like Hagar was more of a wrestler.
Pile drivers and...
Right, Guy was more of the ninja, and then Cody was a straight out brawler, which was really cool.
It added more weapons, more enemy variety types, more like animation and more hits and punches and kicks for your characters at the same time, and they were different for every character.
Many of the villains in the game were actually named after 80s punk and rock bands.
You got Axl Rose, Slash, Sid Vicious, Poison, Billy Idol.
Another notable nod to a real life person is you had Hugo in the game, who was essentially Andre the Giant.
Final Fight was ported to home consoles, and it also had sequels, so it wasn't the Final Fight.
Final Fight really established the beat-em-up genre going forward from that point. Every beat-em-up afterwards was modeled after Final Fight. The Adventures of Bayou was a game, multi-genre, that everyone was excited about before it came out. Heavily advertised on TV and in Nintendo Power.
I always loved the box art on Bayou Billy.
Yeah, he looked like a badass, like a cool Crocodile Dundee, because Crocodile Dundee was too skinny, and this guy looked like he could beat his ass.
Bayou Billy is actually a modified version of a Japanese game called Mad City, but harder.
I really like the fact that they tried to meld three types of games in here. You have a beat-em-up stage, you have a driving stage, and you have a like-gun stage.
The driving and shooting parts of this game are actually a lot of fun if you can get to them, but you gotta get through the beat-em-up part first, and it's frickin' unplayably, it's too hard, it's too hard.
And it's almost like the enemies were using turbo. And this isn't like like Double Dragon when you kick a guy in the gut, he gets stunned, and you can keep hitting him. Oh no, it's almost, they're impervious to pain.
In Mad City, you'd hit the guys a couple times and they'd go down, like in real life probably. Not in this game.
Unless you got a good weapon like the whip that had some range to it, or lucky enough to hold on to the handgun, in hand-to-hand combat, you are done. You're absolutely done. Because you get a couple hits and then you get hit once in return at least.
Luckily, you can practice the driving and shooting games from the main menu if you can't get past that first level, which it took me frickin' forever.
There was so much hype for this game, but nowadays no one says, you know what one of my favorite NES games is? Bayou Billy. No one says that, but everyone owned it. The first probably major disappointment on the NES was The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
The legendary axe is a platformer for the TurboGrafx 16 developed by Victor Interactive Software.
You're this cave dude in a loincloth and you have this axe that doesn't look so legendary.
You know, it was a unique weapon. You didn't have axe-wielding main characters very often.
The legendary axe obviously has a charge feature to the weapon, which at first I really didn't like.
The strength meter empties after attacking and then slowly builds up to maximum over time. So you got to decide, do I want to slow down or do I want to just keep hitting stuff?
And you had some nice enemies that were pretty big sprites, so this was showing off what the system could do, even early on.
The game had excellent graphics, and it won the best game of the console and best game of the year.
You hung your hat on any kind of hopeful game that came out, and that was one of them.
This was one of the first games that was advertised on TV that TurboGrafx 16 was trying to push. And yeah, this is a fine little action game.
Mega Man 2 was like the perfect sequel to Mega Man.
The original Mega Man game didn't sell particularly well, but the development team still wanted to make a sequel, so Capcom said, alright, you guys want to do it, here's the money, but you can only make it in your spare time.
So they still had other games they had to make, but then when they were done with that, they would start working on Mega Man 2. That is love.
Mega Man 2 has got to be the easiest Mega Man game that they've ever made.
If Mega Man 1 frustrated the hell out of you, Mega Man 2 is definitely going to give you a nicer experience.
But there's more going on here. You have sub-weapons, you know, the progenitor of like the Rush system, you know.
We now have things like the energy tank, where you can pick up these tanks and collect energy to store it for a later use when you need it.
It also has the best music in any Mega Man game, by far, in my opinion, and yours too.
It's because it's driving, and it's hard, and it keeps you invested in the game. It keeps you going forward.
I really like the stage designs in Mega Man 2. You know, got the Bubble Man with the eye-piercing water, the Flashman stage with the blinking ice going all around.
Trying to outrun the dragon, jumping from block to block, and then he takes up the whole thing. You got to jump from block to block to shoot him. It's tense.
And it was like, this is what did it. This is what took that franchise off, man.
Sure, we could argue about which is the best Mega Man. Is it Mega Man 3? Is it Mega Man 2? Is it Mega Man 1? But let's not argue. It's 2. Done.
And now the forgotten video games of 1989.
Pat here with the forgotten video games of 1989. Budokan, the martial spirit by Electronic Arts. Enter a martial arts tournament and use different weapons in this computer fighting game. Galaxy Force. This third-person space shooter for the Sega Master System featured super scalar-like graphics. Amagon on the NES. Shoot your way through island enemies or right up for more power in this bizarre action platformer. And Sly Spy by Data East. Play as a secret agent out to thwart a nuclear threat in this arcade action game influenced by James Bond. And those were the forgotten video games of 1989. Just because you don't remember them doesn't mean they weren't fun. And that concludes the video game years 1989. On behalf of John, Delia, and myself, thank you for all your support during these last 4 years of the video game years, starting with the 1977 episode. It's unsure at this point if the series will continue, but either way, if it does or not, we could not have gotten this far without your support. And thank you to all the contributors, all the editors, everyone doing the effects work, everyone. A lot of work went into this show. So while I have you here for a second, feel free to check out my project right now, Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library, available for pre-order right now. Check that out. And yeah, look out for all my other stuff and RetroWare TV's work. So check out our channels. And thank you again for all your support. And maybe we'll see you in the future for 1990.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning into the video game years over the last 4 years. That's a wrap for the 1980s episodes. As Pat said, we're taking a time out to decide what we're going to do next. So stay tuned, and we'll have information for you. But thank you again for watching the show, and for commenting in the comment section, and for encouraging us, and for being fans of the show. And thank you so much for contributing to our crowdfunding effort that helped us get through the 1980s episodes. So I just wanted to say thank you to our editors, to Anthony and everyone who's worked on effects. I want to thank all of our contributors, all of our producers, all of those who have given something, including and most especially their time to this project to make it a reality. It's something I know I'm very proud of, and I'll always be happy that it was something we were able to accomplish. It was a lot of work, it was a lot of time, a lot of effort, but you know, we're glad that you were able to watch it and enjoy it as we were making it. Also, just so you remember, we still have Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the Video Game Years available on DVD at RetrowareTV.com. Volume 3 will be out in a couple months or so. And stay tuned to RetrowareTV.com and our YouTube channel. There will be new content and more content that will be coming out shortly. We have some things in the works. Be sure to check back on our expo, RetroWorldExpo.com, which is where we'll be updating when this year's or this coming year's event is going to be held. Our event in October was incredibly successful, so we're looking forward to blowing it up a little bit as we move on. And thank you to Pat Contri, Pat the NES Punk, and the Punk Effect. You got to check out his content. He was a huge component to making this show possible, as were so many others. I mean, Joey, Ian, Lance, everybody in the producing team, all of the editors. Again, I can go on and on. So I just want to say thank you, especially to you, those who watch. And see you later.